Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at Sturminster Newton in Dorset. It's about 8 miles to the northwest of Blandford Forum and about 7 miles south of Shaftesbury. And we're going to be doing a roughly 4-mile circular route, having a look at the town itself. We'll be seeing 2 mills, a marvellous, very famous old manor house, the River Stour, and a quite glorious bluebell wood, and hopefully a few other interesting things along the way. Now we're filming very early in May. It's a glorious spring day. The sun is out, there's hardly a cloud in the sky. A little bit chilly first thing this morning, but hopefully Logan will be able to take his fleece off very soon. Now I parked my car at a free car park by the Sturminster Mill. Speaking of which, it's just behind me here. What a fantastic place to start the walk. Let's go and have a look at that. And here it is, Sturminster Mill, quite close to the busy A357. Now there was a mill recorded here in the Domesday Book, but the present building dates from the 17th century. The north wing, that's the bit that juts out into the river, was only a fulling mill in the early 1600s. It was demolished in the late 18th century and rebuilt to join and extend the southern wing, which was a corn mill. In 1904 the mill was upgraded and 2 water wheels were replaced by a single water turbine. Now although it ceased full-time production in 1947, there is still a working mill here, and it is open as a museum. But what about this for an impressive weir? Ah, wonderful. Okay, well there's the river looking quite calm and serene on the left. We'll have a look at that in more detail later on, but we're going to heading northwards. Well, that was certainly an impressive weir. Okay, as I mentioned, we're heading northwards, so we've got the town of Sturminster Newton on my right and a little part of the river on my left. If I just show you in the far distance, looking towards the east, you can see just about in the distance the old bridge. Now we will be passing there on the way back, but I'll tell you a bit more about it now because it is by a busy road. It's very much a historic fording point over the River Stour, and the ford was actually replaced by a bridge in the 16th century. The bridge was widened in the 17th century and it's got 6 arches. Now, I should point out there is a sign on it that says any person willfully injuring any part of the bridge will be guilty of a felony and be liable to be transported for life by the court. I say, I thought I'd just point that out, although how you injure a bridge I don't know. Okay, so well, just by me here there is actually a dog dip, although it's a little bit chilly today to ask Logan to test it out. This isn't actually the main river, this is a little part of it. The main river is just a few yards to the west of here. Oh, isn't that a lovely sight? As if I didn't need reminding that it's spring. Those cute little lambs out there. So we're going to continue heading along the side of this field, and there's quite a few things to see close to the river when we get over the brow of that little hill ahead. I should say the name of Sturminster Newton, Stour comes from obviously the River Stour that goes by here, and there is an impressive church here, and the Newton bit is basically means an estate. The locals though call the place Stour. Well, I'm on the western outskirts of the town, still got the river on my left hand side, I wanted to point out this pink cottage on the left, and there's a plaque on the wall that tells us that Thomas Hardy, the novelist and poet, lived here between 1876 and 1878 with his new bride Emma, and he wrote The Return of the Native here. Well, I'm making my way through a lovely, very peaceful wooded area right by the river. I keep mentioning the river, so I ought to tell you a little bit about it. It's looking very serene and slow flowing this morning. The River Stour, it's 61 miles long, and its source is at Stour Head in Wiltshire, and it's joined by various other rivers in Dorset and flows into the sea at Christchurch. It does flood quite a lot. I've just made my way to this delightful little bridge. It's called Colber Bridge, named after a deserted village that used to stand in about 8 acres of land on the other side of the river. I think the village was deserted in the 1700s, and this little bridge here was built on an existing one, and I see there's a metal plate that indicates 1841. But it really is a beautiful spot, and indeed it's easy to imagine Thomas Hardy standing on this very bridge during periods of quiet contemplation by this peaceful open stretch of river. And if it's okay with you guys, this would be a great place to read one of his poems. Reticulations creep upon the slack stream's face when the wind skims irritably past. The current clucks smartly into each hollow place that years of flood have scrabbled in the pier's sodden base. The floating lily leaves rot fast. On a roof stand the swallows, ranged in wistful waiting rows, till they arrow off and drop like stones among the ayot withies at whose foot the river flows. And beneath the roof is she who in the dark world shows as a lattice gleam when midnight moans. Well, there's Colber Bridge down there, just such a peaceful scene. The birds twittering in the background. Now this is as far north as I'm going to go on the walk. I just want to show you what remains of the railway bridge that used to cross the Stour here. I did see an old photograph. I think the bit that actually crossed the river was actually made of metal, and this is part of the Somerset and Dorset joint railway line built in the 1860s. The line was created so that there will be a through route between Burnham-on-Sea and Wimborne, thus linking basically the Bristol and English channels. The line closed in 1966. Now back in the town there's an area of land where the railway station used to be that's now been converted into a little park area. Well worth a visit if you're passing by. There's an old bit of railway track there, and some old gates that belong to the railway company. I'll just put some photos up rather than go and film there directly, because it's quite close to the main road. In fact, what I'm going to do now is head back through the town to the church, and I'm not going to film in the town itself because it's a Friday morning. It'll be busy and noisy, but I will put a few photographs up. There are a few things to look out for, in particular the old market cross. The actual cross and the central part of it are long gone, but the base is still there. I think it's 4 steps in an octagonal shape. There are some lovely, really beautiful houses there, a lot of them with their individual characteristics. Okay, we're going to say goodbye to the River Stour just for the moment, heading out of the little woodland. Just look out for this finger post, and we need to follow the sign to Marketplace that's going to take us through the town. A couple of little snippets about the town itself. It's based, well, it's in a vale that Thomas Hardy based his fictional Vale of the Little Dairies in his Tess of the D'Urbervilles. And the other little fact, apparently it's home to one of the UK's largest boogie woogie festivals that's been going for 16 years. Well, we've made our way through the town to the church, which sits on some slightly higher ground that's just behind me here. It's the Church of St Mary's. The nave, north and south aisles and west tower are of late 14th century or early 15th century origin, and the chancel, north vestry, south chapel and north and south transepts are all from the 1820s. A rather magnificent tower there, I believe holds 6 bells, the oldest dated 1612. Now, if you're going to be following this walk later from the map that I put up at the beginning, just to the east of the church, a little road, look out for this signpost here to Fiddleford Manor and Mill, which is our next destination. So we're going to pass by a farm, and this is going to take us out into some quite glorious countryside very shortly. We're now heading out of the town and already beginning to see some quite glorious views, walking across some fields. That's the River Stour over on my right, and well, those woods in the far distance will be in there very shortly. Now we're in the middle of a field with some cows with their young calves at the moment, so this field I'm going to keep Logan on the lead, but the next 2 fields will be okay. This really is a quite exquisite part of the Stour. Look at those lilies there, and the woods on the far side are part of a nature reserve, Girdler's Coppice, on the southern side of the river. So it's a nature reserve run by Dorset Wildlife Trust, runs to about 7 hectares. Well, we really have enjoyed a quite glorious stroll alongside the river. So peaceful. In fact, if I just pan round, show you where we've come from. This is the field that we've come, but we went along the side, all the way along this riverbank. And really full of wildlife today. We saw a lovely little egret out in the field. Isn't that wonderful? So we are now just on the outskirts of Fiddleford, and we're going to make our way over this little bridge just in front of me. Well, this is our second meal of the day with a very impressive weir. Isn't that magnificent? And just panning over onto this side. Love the pattern that it makes with the water. Okay, so we're going to continue along this little path, and this will take us to where the Fiddleford Mill was. There's been a mill here since the Doomsday, but it became disused in the 18th century. And gosh, we've got some very old sluice gates here on the right. Quite impressive. Now, just ahead of me in this little hut here on the left, it's actually there's an information board next to it. They put in a new turbine. I believe it's called an Archimedes screw. Basically extracts power from the river. There are some quite, I love these old buildings, again all part of the old mill. I've no idea what that says up there. Looks like quite oldie worldy writing. And then beautiful little building here, little tiny little stable block, and look at those steps going up to the what probably was a door up there. Well, right beside Fiddleford Mill is Fiddleford Manor, which was a 14th century manor house built in 1370, I think, and then it was remodelled in the 16th century, and it's had quite a few alterations ever since. It's owned now by English Heritage, and it's known as one of the most spectacular manor houses in all of Dorset, particularly the roof inside. Sadly, although it's free to enter, it's still closed at the moment. We're just still coming out of the COVID-19 restrictions. So it's actually behind some trees. I might be able to get a photograph of the top of it. I'll see if I can find some photos off the internet. But if you are coming on this walk, I'm guessing it's going to be quite a well worth visit. Well, I've crossed the A357 again, now heading south, headed into Piddles Wood and heading uphill. But just look at this. Bluebell after bluebell, just a sheer carpet of them. And you're looking really deep into the woods, they go on, and it's like an avenue walking up this path, almost drawing me upwards. It really is quite exquisite. I knew there were bluebells here, but I hadn't quite appreciated quite what a display there was. And it keeps on coming. I don't know if that's showing on the camera, but look through there, almost as far as the eye can see. Well, making our way through Piddles Wood, brilliant name for a wood. It's actually an SSSI. It was made that in 1985. It's about 154 acres. In fact, sort of large wooded areas are relatively rare in North Dorset. The landscape tends to be more dominated with open fields. Anyway, important part of the walk here. You need to look out for this finger post, four-way finger post that's just beside me, and as you can see, we've come up from Fiddleford Mill and we want to follow, watch the sun, there we go, yeah, Broad Oak, which is our next destination. Continuing to make my way southwards along this delightful track. I keep on going on about these bluebells, but they really are quite gorgeous. Doesn't matter which side I look, left or right, and they just keep on coming. And of course the sun out just catches them and brings out that quite delightful shade that they have. We've come out of the wood, crossed a little road, gone through a farm, and now going through a meadow towards the little settlement of Broad Oak. And I've just been greeted by a quite stunning view. That's I think that's Bale Hill in the far distance, with the Wessex Ridgeway along the top. So I'm going to head through this little meadow, through Broad Oak, and then continue downhill, where hopefully we can find a little stream. Well, I've just come through Broad Oak and still heading in a sort of westerly direction. Some more terrific views. Again, this beautiful rolling Dorset landscape, very much open fields, as you can see, with the odd solar panel farm in the middle there, and then just panning round a lovely lake there, and then this is Broad Oak Farm on my right. Well, we're on the homeward leg now. It's all gone a bit dark, beginning to cloud over, and we're also in quite a dense little tiny wooded area, and just about across a really sweet little bridge over a stream. Now at the moment it's just a little trickle, but looking at the erosion on the bank there, I wouldn't be surprised if in the winter this becomes a raging torrent. It's not a particularly long stream. I saw on looking at the map, it seems to start at a place called Knacker's Hole, just to the south, but it feeds into the River Stour not too far to the north from here. Well, just as the clouds start to appear, I think we've seen the best part of the day, which is just as well, because we're near the end of the walk. Just got to head back down onto the 357 and back to the car by the mill. But one more thing I want to show you that's here, just on my left. We're going to have to peek through a fence, or over a fence should I say, because it's on private land. Now firstly, you can see some banking here, and there's a ditch. Now that's a part of an old Iron Age hill fort. And then just over, you can see on top of a little sort of crescent shaped mound, there's the remains of some sort of building. Now there was a Roman building here once, and possibly a castle in Saxon times. That certainly would have fell into disuse in the 12th or 13th century. What you have there, the remains of a 14th century fortified manor house, and it does show on the map as a castle, very old maps, but say it is a fortified manor house. And there are quite a few legends associated with it. Apparently there's a well near to those remains, and inside there's a wealth of treasure, and also not far there's a golden object hidden in a tunnel. And I left my shovel at home. Well folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do make a comment. And as I always say, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe. That way hopefully you'll be able to join us for another walk sometime in the future. We thought we'd do our end scene here, right in the middle of these bluebells. I tell you, I've never seen a display quite like it. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio.